Welcome to Eastown Church Online. My name is Julie. I have been on this journey with Eastown for about 3 years now. Met some really cool people. My favorite serve at Eastown is I get to be part of designing this service experience you're watching right now, and I want you to know something. We think of you each and every week when we plan these services, and it's my hope for you today that you would feel valued and heard and welcome no matter what. No matter what your background, no matter what you know about God, we're really happy you're here. And I hope for you today that you may experience God in a new and unexpected way. So, grab your starter fluid because it's gonna be a good day. And text Eastown to 94000. Check in with us, let us know you're here. And then the band's gonna do a really cool song by Maren Morris called Better Than We Found It. And it's a song about conviction. She uses lines like, hoping to be proud of the woman I was, or the side that I chose, and we're gonna talk about that today. Like, what does it mean to stand in conviction as a Christian in today's world? So settle in, share the service. Don't forget to check in. Did I mention that? We hope you have a great day.
If you don't like it, then get the hell out. That's what they yell when I open my mouth. A stick is a stick, a stone is a stone, but who's gonna care if I don't? Yeah, who's gonna change if I won't? When time turns this moment to dust, I just hope that I'm proud of the woman I was. When the lines of tomorrow are drawn, can I live with the side that I chose to be on? Will we sit on our hands, do nothing about it? Or will we leave this world better than we found it? Over and under and above the law, my neighbor's in danger. Who does she call? There's a wolf at the door, all covered in blue. Shouldn't we try something new? Yeah, we're over a barrel at the end of 1, 2. When the time turns this moment to dust, I just hope to be proud of the woman I was. When the lines of tomorrow are drawn, can I live with the side that I chose to be on? Will we sit on our hands, do nothing about it? Or will we leave this world better than we found it? America, America, divided we fall. America, America, God save us all from ourselves and the hell that we built for our kids. America, America, we're better than this. 'Cause when time turns this moment to dust, I just hope my soul's proud of the woman I was. And when the lines of tomorrow are drawn, can I live with the side that I chose to be on? Will we sit on our hands, do nothing about it? Can we leave this world
Thank you so much for that, Julie. That was amazing. Hi, Eastown Church. Welcome back this Sunday morning. My name's Kristen Chung, and I'm the new student coordinator here.
We are so glad to have you a part of our team, Kristen. My name is Michael Dupin, and like Kristen said, we're so glad that you're with us either on Sunday morning or whatever day you're watching throughout the week. We do have some exciting things coming up here at Eastown that we want to tell you about, and the first one is actually an in-person event. We don't get to do those very often right now, but we are having our second Eastown pop-up. It's happening on Halloween, October 31st. We know that Halloween looks a lot different for kids this year, and so we want to make sure for you as an individual or a family that you still have a lot of fun that day. So we are popping up at Iron Horse Middle School from 12:30 to 2. It's going to be a drive-through event, but there's going to be a lot of fun stuff. You'll be able to drive through and stop at different stations. We'll have trunks decorated. I know some of our students, right, are taking on a trunk. We're going to have games that you can play from your car window, giveaways, prizes, and we want you to still be able to show off your costumes this year so you can hop out at the end, and we have a photo opportunity for you so you can share it with friends and family, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it's going to be a blast. Hey, this is going to be my very first Eastown pop-up too, so I'm so excited to be in costume at Iron Horse Middle School, seeing all you guys in your cars. I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be a great day if you are a middle school or high school student for you to drive through and make sure that you meet Kristen. But I also would say this, we know in this season how important it is for us to still stay connected as we talk to you. We're hearing just that longing for connection and being with people face to face. And we don't know how long it's going to be before we can be face to face regularly. So this will be an important day that we would say, don't miss. We want to see you. We want to have a chance to connect with you.
Yeah, and leading up to the pop-up, there's an opportunity for you to win a Love Local box if you share our pop-up post on Instagram or Facebook.
And it's not just the box, right? There's some good things inside.
Yeah, let's open this box, Michael.
All right. So, like Kristen said, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, share a pop-up post. We'll enter you in to win this box. We have a Compassion and Conviction book that is what the series we're in right now is based off of. This might be pretty good. A DoorDash gift card. Of course, you need your Eastown sunglasses. Kristen's trying to take that gift card. I am going to steal this. This is Tomo Toffee, and if you if you've never had it, you have to try it. It's the best ever. And then I just found this. This is cold brew with horchata and oat milk. It's one of the best things ever. So there'll be a few more items in the box, but we would love for you to be a part of that and share the post.
Yeah. Also coming up November 8th, we have a few events. The first one I'm so stoked for. It's our very first student night in a long while, actually. It's going to be in San Ramon. Come out. It's going to be outdoors. Wear your masks, and we're just going to have a blast. Check our Facebook for more information on that. If you're in middle school or high school, see you there.
Yeah. Also on November 8th, that same day, we have a virtual open table. And this is just an invitation for anyone that is new to sit around the table with us virtually. Whether you've just joined. Oh. What is happening?
Virtual.
Hi, guys.
Open table, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the first word you said?
Open table.
Virtual. Not in person.
I really do like your shirt.
Yeah, you guys are matching. That's nice.
You guys here for virtual table?
No, Clint, Evan, we already know you. This event is not for you.
This table feels real, actually, not so virtual.
You can exit. All right, now no one's coming to virtual table. Can you go? Virtual open table.
Okay, fine.
What were we talking about, Michael?
I know it. All right, so if you've joined us in this online season, if we haven't had a chance to meet you, we would love to. It'll be November 8th from 5 to 6 p.m. We will make sure that you get a Zoom link if you sign up at this link. And it's just an opportunity for us to share more about the Eastown story, the impact that we hope to make in our community, and how you can be a part of that with us. So we would love to meet you.
Yeah. Hey, we're entering into our second week of our series, The Separation of Church and Hate. And we have Clint and Evan here going to lead this discussion for us this morning. Check it out.
And explain to me, I don't understand why you're showing up. Is it to antagonize?
COVID-19! No justice! No justice!
Now, we've already showed you how the science behind the mask mandates is shaky. What about the legality of these orders?
All right, welcome to Eastown Online. Man, that was intense. That promo's intense.
It literally gives me anxiety every single time. I'm like,
Hey, my name is Clint Dupin.
Hey, my name's Evan. Graduated up from Eastown Kids.
Yeah, man, you're usually in Eastown Kids.
And I still am today, so you'll see me again.
Yeah, so anyways, welcome to Eastown Church Online. And man, this has already been such a great day so far.
Hey, yeah, nice shirt too, by the way.
It is funny. You got the memo.
Twinsies.
Always green shirts.
Always.
Hey, so you're usually in Eastown Kids, but what is kind of like your day job?
Besides Eastown Kids, I am also an administrator at a private school here locally, and one of the things that I get to do during the day is I teach 11th graders U.S. history, and I teach seniors government, which is a pretty timely time to take government.
Yeah, and you're almost done with your doctorate, like literally.
I am a couple months maybe, and I will be done, which I'm super excited to just be done, actually.
Man, that is incredible. I remember we had a huge celebration when I graduated the 8th grade.
Awesome.
Yeah, so anyways.
Hopefully equal.
Hey, so I'm so excited to have you here, and I just want to tell you this, is Eastown is we're almost 2.5 years old, and Evan and Alicia were some of our first people that came on board to help launch Eastown. And you guys have been an incredible inspiration, not just to myself and my wife and my family, but to so many. And we're so thankful for that. And so, one thing before we get started, I want to talk about is just generosity. And we talk about that quite often. We want to be a community, a church that is generous, because we believe that people have kind of a bad perception of what church is all about. And one of our goals is to change people's perspective of what church can be like. And so we've seen this over the last 6 months, just during this pandemic, of just the amazing generosity that Eastown has been able to be a part of because of people's generosity. And you guys are a part of that, man. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's actually been a really cool thing in our house, kind of the dual impact of being generous. Not only has it been amazing in our own home to kind of live a little bit looser with our finances and kind of the freedom that goes in with that, but also to see the impact we've been able to have in our community through Eastown, whether it's Love Local initiatives like helping out the firefighters last month, whether it's just kind of feeding people in need. That's just been amazing, and I just love what it's done for our family.
Yeah, I think about the racial justice partners. I think about we're going to be able to do Thanksgiving baskets for people in need in this season. So it's awesome. Incredible. Yeah. But listen, we do a lot of great things outside, but there's also people that give to keep this movement moving forward, right? And so if you've never stepped into the spirit of generosity, maybe today is your day. Just simply text GIVE, GYVE, to 313131 and start your journey today. It will change your life. I always say this: generous people live better lives. If you're not going to be generous here, find somewhere you can be generous. Some people are just doing our roundup because you've just taken that first step, because we understand maybe it's kind of hard for you to trust the church. Do roundup, and you can find out more about that on eastown.church. Or you might want to start automating your giving. We're able to set our budget and able to move forward because people have automated their giving, so we know what's coming in on a regular basis. And maybe, and this is something we would never ask you to do, something that we're not willing to do ourselves, maybe you start thinking about percentage giving, right? It's like, hey, you know what we give right away is we give 10% of what we make. And so that is something based in our hearts because of our relationship with Jesus Christ. That's something that he commands us to do. So, hey, we'll talk more about that later, but we're going to talk. We're in our second week of our series, right? Separation of church and hate.
Separation of church and hate. It's been really good, right? And even last week, you were talking a little bit about where we place our identity in and kind of our responses sometimes to political discourse. And
yeah, I've probably had every one of those responses I talked about last week. If you missed it, make sure you go back and watch it or listen to it. Is maybe for you can identify, a quick review, is that you think as a Christ follower, as a follower of Jesus Christ, it's like, man, we just need to kind of bend and blend. Don't tell people where I'm at, and we just kind of fit in. It's like, no, we cannot fulfill the mission of the gospel that Jesus requires of us if we kind of fit in to culture. We love culture. We're for culture. We want to influence culture. Or maybe your response has been, I've had this response, like, I just don't want to deal with this political season. Can somebody just put me in a cryo chamber and wake me up in like 6 months from now? I just want to flee from it, right?
Yeah, we actually had our dinner party, CVDP.
What does that even mean?
Castro Valley dinner party.
Nobody knows.
It's kind of a thing.
It's not.
It's getting popular. And we were talking about kind of we're sitting outside around our table, and we're talking about our typical responses to some of the political division and discourse that's going on in our world today. And we are a group of fleers as a whole. We kind of, our natural tendency is to duck out of that conversation, to avoid it if at all possible. And I think one thing that we're hoping to kind of tag onto today is to give you some handles, to give you some tangible ideas or tools with kind of how to navigate some of those conversations.
Because maybe you have been, maybe you're watching today, and I saw some posts from friends of mine who have nothing to do with the church. And they have every reason, they have every right not to want to do anything with the church because of how Christians have made them feel. And you've been a part of this, or you've seen this happen. Is like, it seems like the church or Christians are always fighting against something and angry at something. That's not what we're called to do either. We are called to stand in faith, and faith is a choice. And there's sometimes where it's like, hey, I see a lot going on in culture. I'm not going to put my faith in there. I'm going to engage, right? But I'm going to engage as the person of Jesus. And so we have an example to follow. So you brought some stuff here.
Yeah. I actually really like to read quite a bit. And so these
How many books have you read in the COVID season?
I've actually keep a count on my phone. I hit 90 today, so I'm super excited about that.
I don't think I've hit 90 in my life. Okay, keep going.
So anyway, so we have some books, and if you tuned in last week with us, or this is your first week, these are some really great books to pick up. And one of them is Compassion and Conviction, and it just talks about how we can kind of navigate civic engagement, right, as Christ followers, or even maybe this is your first time you're approaching.
Well, I'm going to talk about this one.
Okay, you go.
This one is "Thou shalt not be an Evan," and so
no, it says jerk, and those are not the same thing.
Oh, okay. So, anyways, this is another. You've read this book. I haven't even started this book yet, but we're going to talk about some of that today.
Yeah, that's an incredibly impactful book too, about how we can look different, right, in this really divisive world that we live in.
Yeah, and so we want you to do something. We think so highly of community and engagement. If you have never checked in with Eastown, if this is one of your first times or sixth time watching, you've never check in right now, 94000, and we will send you one of these.
Not that
books.
one, but we will send you a book.
Yeah, we'll send you a book.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, we will send this book, but this is yours.
That's my
I
book.
understand.
Yeah. Okay.
Let it go, buddy.
Okay.
All right. So let's get started. So Evan, coming from your perspective as a history teacher, what is happening right now? Because I just feel like people are treating this like it's binary. It's like, if I'm Republican and I can only agree with everything Republican and everything that the Democrats believe in. It's like I can't, or vice versa. What is happening right now with all of that?
Yeah, I think we do have this tendency, and part of it is that our political party system is fairly flawed in that it seemingly has given us only two options, and that somehow those two options are so far apart from each other, right, that they've separated love and truth, or social justice from moral order, or compassion from conviction, and that somehow if I know that you vote Democrat, then I put you in this box and say, well, then you must think this way and this way and this way, and we make these assumptions about each other, when in all reality, it is not that binary. It is not just that either or type situation, but it's kind of created this discord among people. No,
that's really good. So here's what we want to do. We want to give people some handles you talked about earlier, but I'm going to change that word to tools. Okay? Because here's the thing. I believe in life, we need tools to engage, especially in the tougher seasons of life, right? And so if you show up to a circumstance or a situation, you find yourself in a conversation and you do not have the right tools, it leaves you kind of feeling, you could feel angry, you could feel hurt, you could feel all these things. But if you have the right tools, it's really important. So Evan and I, a few months ago, we actually built a table together.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons you called me over to help was you really didn't have a good toolbox.
No, mine actually, this is yours right here, and mine's a little bit smaller and a little bit more plastic. But yeah, I was able, you kind of showed me the ropes of the tool lifestyle.
That's right.
And yeah, so I got to learn some stuff.
Yeah, so we got out there, we started building, and I would ask, Evan, do you have this tool? No, I don't have that tool. He would say things like this, we could just use that. Why don't we just use a hammer to do that, to saw the wood? Well, that doesn't work really, right? Well, and so you can't just go through life with one tool. You need several tools. And the tools that work for building a table are not going to be the same tools that help you repair a car. So it really...
Apparently.
But so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Now, the first tool I want to show you is a level. And this is like a really precise tool. And this kind of fits our first point, which is educate yourself, right? It's like a lot of times we walk into things and we're like, if we don't know, we kind of fake it, right? It's really important in this season to educate ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is going to be the first step in a lot of situations, rather than to maybe enter the political fray and discussions, right? And have these really strong ideas and opinions. Ask yourself, have I taken that first step of educating myself, of being really precise in my ideas and understanding of things? Truth matters in situations, right? And for those of us who call ourselves or claim to be Christ followers, the truth really has to start with the scriptures. And at Eastown, we talk a lot about the scriptures. We look at the scriptures as kind of this standard for the way that we live and where we can find truth. There's actually this really cool verse in 2 Timothy, and it goes like this. I think it's pretty applicable. All scripture is inspired by God and is useful to teach us what is true and to make us realize what is wrong in our lives. It corrects us when we are wrong and teaches us to do what is right. God uses it to prepare and equip his people to do every good work. And I feel like that just applies so well with, hey, that should kind of be our baseline, where we start when we're seeking truth.
So I love that. You know, when I first saw this, that you kind of scripted this out, I'm like, why would you start with educate yourself with scripture, right? You're a history professor or educator, right? And it's like, but it makes all the sense in the world, because I look at this, maybe for some of you, you're kind of skeptical and you're jaded when it comes to scripture or the Bible you're watching today. It's like, of course you're going to start with the Bible because it's church. But here's the thing that I have found with scripture. There are so many different things in our society and culture that come and go, that make promises that they cannot deliver. This has been around for over 2,000 years, right? And there's things in here that are true then as they are true now. And I also look at the author of this, who is Paul, the Apostle Paul, who this was his like young protege, Timothy, and he was asking him for advice. Probably, maybe he was even trying to navigate culture politically. Like he's like, how do I live as a follower of Jesus Christ and navigate what's happening in culture? And this is what Paul was telling him. That's brilliant. So now, what next?
Yeah, after that really important first step, right? The second step is to really deep dive on the research. And so in my government class, this is actually something that I always am prompting my students. They're probably at this point a little annoyed with me because I say it so often, but let something drive you to deeper research, right? We analyze the debate. I know at home you're perhaps cringing, right? But we looked at it and we said, okay, so we've got two candidates who are saying they're going to do this and they're saying and they're going to do that. And maybe some of it on the surface sounds really, really good. But what it should do is, or maybe that Instagram post, right, that you see sounds really, really great. And you're like, I'm behind that idea. But really, those should be moments, these catalytic moments are most where it lets it drive you to deeper research, where you say, hey, I want to dive in and really fully understand the situation there. And more than just fully understand it is also kind of read varied perspectives, varied authors on certain topics, right? I know this is a journey that you and I have both talked about a little bit with what we're walking through, and that's reading authors, listening to people who have a different life experience than we do, maybe think differently, act differently, look differently than we do, and saying, hey, how can we get a deeper understanding of what other people are going through rather than just ourselves or people who think exactly like us. Yeah.
That's really good. So remember that with the first one is like, maybe you show up in a conversation or you see something on television or you're wondering, is like, how do I access, maybe I need to educate myself a little bit more, right? That's a tool that you need to access. And I realize we could talk about that, about educating ourselves on so many different topics, but start there. The second one is this, is empathize with others, right? Empathize with others. You don't always know what's going on inside of others, right? What do you
got there?
This is, well, I know you love this. When I pulled this tool out, when I was helping you.
My heart went pitter patter.
Yeah, and you went and bought one.
I did.
But this Craig Jig actually does these pocket screws. And it screws its joints that you can't even see, right? It's below the surface.
It's a Christmas miracle. It really is.
It's inside. And this is so true to our next truth, right? Our next tool that we're talking about is empathize with others. You don't always know what's going on inside of others. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's so true, right? To empathize or to put yourself in the shoes of somebody else and really almost try to walk in their shoes, walk in their experiences and see what their life is like, right? We need to, our first step actually needs to be listening to other people, hearing their stories, hearing their experiences. I think we as a culture are pretty quick to give our understanding of what we think life might be like. But there's actually this really cool verse in James, in the first chapter, and James is in the New Testament, and it goes like this. My dear brothers and sisters, this is James talking, right? And he says, pay attention to what I say. So I guess we have to listen. Everyone should be quick to listen, but they should be slow to speak. They should be slow to get angry. Quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. Now think about that. You go back to the debate, right? And you're like, that did not happen, right? And you think about what life could be like if we did treat each other with this kind of standard. Hey, I'm going to be quick to listen to you, quick to just stop and not just give my opinion right off the cuff. Because when we do that, we actually end up, from the comfort of our home, the comfort of our couch perhaps, we become kind of these like armchair analysts, right? Where we have really strong opinions about ideas. But what we do is we forget that there is a human element here. We are talking about people. Think about any political kind of hot topic or issue that's really, really highly debatable. And it's easy to do that, to forget that, hey, we're talking about human beings. We're talking about the human race. We're talking about other people just like us who we could very well be in that same situation. And so to actually empathize, to put ourselves in their shoes is I think one of the most important first steps now, right? Educating yourself and empathizing with others.
That's so good. It's like, I think about this is like Dallas Willard says, one of the darkest sins is contempt. Right? It's like we've watched this on social media with people going back and forth, family against family, friend against friend, politician against politician, us party against party. It's like we've really moved into contempt. And he says this, where we so disdain another person, we find them disgusting. And I think about this so often in my own life is like, I am constantly having to forgive people. I'm having to find myself be compassionate to their story. And by forgiving humans, when sin is in us, is we hate, and we hate easily. And I remember hearing one pastor says he has to forgive every single morning because there's a lot of people that he hates, and he has to forgive them. And I'll tell you this, things are not going to change until we start having compassion for people, till we start sitting down and listening to people's stories. It's like, I think about policies, and I think about all of those things out there that you might disagree with, that we all might disagree with. You have to start asking questions, I wonder why that happened. Or I wonder why this politician acts this way or talks this way. What has happened? I'm not asking you to agree with them, but I'm asking us, I love what you just said, is treat them like a human. Is because that's a real person there.
That's so good. And you can almost like imagine, right? Project out what our culture and what our world would look like if we did kind of adopt these things, right? Imagine sitting down at the next debate or the next discussion that you're watching, and one candidate says to the other, like, hey, I heard you. I appreciate your perspective, right? I think we'd all kind of like, we just kind of stop and be so blown away, right? No, stop, is what I said, right? But imagine if we could really show that compassion. Think of a time in your life where you felt heard by somebody and the value that came in with that, right? We are talking about the human element of things.
So good. Yeah. So good. Let's move to the last one.
All right, hammer time.
You ruined it.
Did I?
Gosh. Yes, it's MC Hammer.
I was going to wear my pants.
This is our last one. And you think about a hammer. How many of you think about how often you've tried to use a hammer for so many different things, right? It's like, now it's time to engage, right? It's like our last one is engage in civic duty.
Can I hold it? I want to feel the power.
Yeah, you want to feel that?
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
You're dangerous with that.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyways, it's time to get busy. It's time to engage. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I think too that a lot of people when they're in these discussions or in these debates, right, the one that they look at first, they go to first is not maybe where they've educated themselves, not really to listen and have empathy, but they kind of grab for that hammer really, really quick. And so this is important, though. This is essential that we still have this within our toolbox. And one thing I want to say before even we jump into it even further is it's really important that we don't put our hope in a political party. I'm going to tell you, like, every election cycle, somebody wins and somebody loses.
That's true.
Yeah, it's science, right? and politics. And so when you put your hope, when you put your identity, like we talked about last week, in these things rather than in Christ, rather than in his constancy. Our kind of our emotions, our hopes and dreams are up and down with each election cycle. And it's easy to kind of almost lose our head in that situation every single time.
That's so good. I think about, you talked about James, brother of Jesus. He gives so much practical. And by the way, you want to start with an easy book in the Bible. It's like very practical.
It's actually my favorite.
It's so good. I'm going through it actually with my daughter right now. And she's like, Dad, like this applies to my life every single day. And I'm like, isn't that weird? Right?
Always surprised by that.
But he even says something in there. He talks about culture. He talks about being in culture and what it does to us. He says, don't become so well adjusted to your culture, right? It's like, I said this earlier. It's like, we need to be educated. We need to engage. We need to vote. We need to do all of those different things. But at the same time, our perspective has to be focused on God. It can't be focused on what's right in front of us or even in our culture. He says, don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit in without even thinking about it. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out, right?
That's good.
Get
I like
some.
that. Oh, no. Okay. And I think I remember this too. As we engage, as you get out there and vote, and as you get out there and you're involved in your local politics, that is the key word, right? Is your local politics. I think a lot of times we end up putting all of our hopes and dreams into the presidential election, that somehow who's ever going to get elected this cycle and in the next 4 years ever get elected there will somehow solve the world's problems and things will be so different. And some people are afraid of that. Some people are excited for it. But really, presidential elections are not the end all in the situation. And really, the answer is your hammer is to get involved in local politics, engage in your local elections, understand or educate yourself on local policies, go out there and advocate for people in need, right? Historically, you can study and you know that we can look at American history and know that America is a pretty individualistic society, right? We tend to look more inwards than kind of outward for the greater good. And so maybe we say to ourselves, hey, my 401k, I'm really good, right? My investments are looking great, so I'm set, right? But rather, what if we flipped a little bit of that on its head and said, hey, life may be good for me, but what does it look like for my neighbor? What does it look like for people in my community? And how can I use policy in my local community to advocate for others and help them, right?
It's great.
Right. We have this, some of us have this unique privilege in the situation. We should use our privilege to really help other people kind of take that step up.
So I want to end like this, Evan. I'm kind of throwing a curveball to you, but I want to pull two things together. I want to do the educate and engage piece together. Because I'm walking around and I see vote no on Prop 21, vote no on, or vote yes on Prop 25, all these different things, right?
Yeah, and there's usually some kind of like alarming statement, right? Like,
what
vote
is that?
No,
what's that called? That's
actually called rhetoric, right? And maybe you see like vote no on Prop 22 or you don't care about people. And you're like, no, I do care about people, so I really better vote no, right? And rather, I think people move out of that emotion or vote out of that emotion that it evokes in you, when in all reality, it should do what we talked about before, and that's drive you to deeper research and say, okay, what is Prop 22? What is Prop whatever number, right? Does it help my neighbor? Does it hurt my neighbor? What does it look like in the long run politically? All of those questions we have to answer, right? And look at perspectives from both sides, not just the one that you think you kind of favor. But don't let that's called rhetoric, and don't let that empty rhetoric drive you to decision making, but rather let it drive you to deeper research.
It's so good, because I had to educate myself just yesterday on Prop 25. Like, I had no idea. I thought it was one thing, and then I started reading about it. I'm like, oh my gosh. One thing I would say to you is this, is all three of these tools really matter. They really matter. And when you think about it, is that a lot of times you might go in and you just vote a certain way because you're thinking more about finances, you're thinking more about your political party. What if you allowed your virtues, your values, your convictions to really drive? And so when you think about propositions, when you think about local government, and you think about the bigger government, right? It's like, man, I don't need to sacrifice my convictions, right? But I need to have that compassion.
Absolutely. And I again, I know we mentioned this at the beginning, I would really recommend getting these books, engaging, right? Providing yourself that framework of truth and love that these both provide.
It's so good. And I would say this, I'll end like this, is all throughout the scripture, Old Testament and New Testament, you would see biblical person after biblical person engage, men and women engage in politics. And I think about one of my all-time heroes is Daniel. No, not you, is Daniel. And you find him in the Old Testament. And Daniel was a prophet. And what prophets would do, they would prophesy. They would speak truth regardless of the outcome. And so he had a high political office. And guess what? It wasn't just in one government. It was in 3 different ones. It was in 3 different empires that he survived. And can you imagine in one of those empires, like, I guarantee you they thought they were at the top of their game. This is going to last forever. And then boom, it's gone. Daniel was consistent all the way through there. Why? Because he put his faith and his hope in Jesus Christ. He didn't put his faith and his hope in the temporal, what is happening right now. So maybe some of you right now, it's like you're putting so much hope, you're putting so much faith in something that is going to, it could literally be gone in a month from now, in a year from now, or tomorrow. But God is everlasting. And maybe for some of you, you have so much hate in you. And when you encounter the cross, when you encounter Jesus, one of the things that Jesus says, he says, pick up your cross. And you know what pick up your cross means? It means lay down your agenda. Because if you're holding on to hate, you're going to have to drop hate and pick up the cross. You cannot hold both. And so I don't know where you are today when it comes to your relationship with Jesus. Maybe you're having restless nights. Maybe you're having, this unrest that's happening in your life. And maybe today this makes you feel a little bit better. And that's the beginning of your journey. Hey, Evan, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for leading. Thank you for doing a lot of the work on this. And I know you have so much more to say on this. And we're going to go live on Wednesday at 8 a.m. on Instagram Live, on Eastowns, and also Facebook. And I'm going to interview you more and just kind of let you go off on some of this stuff and understanding. And so we're going to just turn this time over to Julie as she leads this song. I just want you to take a few moments and just listen and reflect and hear the heart of God.
Uncharted, my soul will embark. I'll follow your way straight into the dark. And if from that course you intend I depart, speak to the sails of my wandering heart. Like the wind you guide, clear the skies before me, and I'll glide this open sea. Like the stars, your word will align my voyage and remind me where I've been and where I am going. Lost in the shallows amidst fear and fog, your truth is a compass that points me back north. Jesus, my Savior, my soul's trusted Lord. All my allegiance is rightfully yours. Like the wind you guide, clear the skies before me, and I'll glide this If you say it, I believe it. Like the wind you guide, clear the skies before me, and I'll glide in this open sea. And like the stars, your word will align my voyage and remind me where I have been and where I am going. Oh, yes, you're a man of your word. Jesus, my captain, my soul's trusted Lord. All my allegiance is rightfully yours.
Now, I know for me, this series has been super helpful and challenging. And I would just say this, if this discussion today impacted you, I would love for you to think of one or two people in your life that you could pass this on to. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can just share this service with them. But think about that now so that we can continue to encourage each other in this season. We also provide a way every week for you to continue to process what we're talking about. And so all you have to do is text the word discuss to 94000, and we will send you 2 to 3 questions that you can either process maybe just between you and God and reflect a little bit more, or you can take it and discuss with a few friends or family in your life. But if you've never done that, today might be a great day to start that. Now, next week, we want to make sure that you're planning on joining us again. We have teaching pastor Naroop Alphonse who will be with us, and he will be talking about achieving racial justice through politics. It is going to be an incredible Sunday. Now, it's time, maybe some would say, for the most important part of our day. Kids, get ready for your dance party. It's time for Eastown Kids. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Hey guys, welcome back to Eastown Kids. So glad you tuned in with us. We are in our final week of October, and so our theme of Drop the Act, this is our last week. I know you're at home crying, right? My name is Evan, and we have a pretty awesome guest with us, if you guys remember.
Hi, I'm Heather, guys.
Hey, if you've been to Eastown Kids, you know Miss Heather, you know she loves you, and I can tell you both, we miss you. We miss you guys. Can't wait
really
to see
do.
you so hopefully sometime soon. And now all month long, we've been talking about dropping the act. We've been talking about integrity. I want you guys to turn to your aunt, uncle, cousin, brother, sister, and tell them what integrity is. Ready? Go. Awesome, awesome. Integrity, I know you already know this, but is choosing to be truthful in whatever you say or do. Heather, why don't you tell us, what does that mean to you? What does drop the act, integrity, what does that all look like?
Stop pretending to be somebody you're not. Be truthful.
You heard it here first, folks. Awesome. Miss Heather with the truth, right? And so, guys, we're going to look at a story. We're going to look at an author in the Bible who I know you've all heard of. Now, Miss Heather brought her Bible, which is awesome. And a lot of times we look at it and we say, oh, it's just kind of one really, really big book. But there's actually 66 different books in there. So the next time you carry your Bible, you can be like, hey, I'm carrying around a library, which is pretty awesome. And we've talked a lot about, you remember Henry and I talked a lot about a guy named Saul, whose name changed into Paul. And Paul writes lots of letters to different people. And he's actually writing a letter to a group of people in this city called Philippi. And the name of the book is Philippians. It's actually a letter. And he's writing to them to encourage them because they're going through a pretty tough time. And maybe at home you're like, I'm going through a tough time. Well, hopefully this can encourage you too. right? So tell us a little bit about Paul, though. What's he going through?
So life wasn't easy for Paul either. In fact, he wrote this letter to the Philippians while he was in prison.
In prison?
And he didn't do anything wrong. He was telling people about Jesus. So you'd think that he would be feeling sad or angry or discouraged, right?
Totally.
But we imagine that Paul would feel that way because we feel that way. It's normal to feel that way, but if you focus on what's happening right now, you might.
Now, you guys might be wondering, who in the world is this, right? And this is actually our villain, and he's going to represent these kind of like negative, kind of bad thoughts that we have sometimes, right?
Yeah, real scary.
Okay, we need you out of here, because we're going to learn today that we can make a choice about those things, right? We don't actually have to focus on negative things, right? We can actually think we can think positive, kind of cool thoughts. Hey, glad you're here, superhero. So obviously she's going to represent these kind of positive, good thoughts that we can have. And so I've asked Miss Heather to read this verse that Paul is writing. Now remember, this guy is writing from prison, from jail. He didn't do anything wrong, right? So listen to this verse and listen to what he has to say.
Philippians 4:8. It says, "Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things."
Oh, that's so good. It's like almost like there's a list of things that we should focus on. I just had an idea, and I'm actually going to, will you do me a favor?
Sure.
I'm a little slow, but can you actually read that again in your melodic voice? And I'm going to write a list.
Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is praiseworthy, admirable.
Oh, goodness.
Now, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things.
Okay.
Ooh, that's good.
All right, guys, I am not much of a writer. My writing is pretty messy, but we've got things like true and noble and right and pure, and it looks like lonely, but it actually is lovely, praiseworthy, and admirable, right? And this is a great list from Paul to say, hey, guys, think about these things instead, right? And you know what? Maybe it's hard though, right? Like, what does this look like in life?
Well, let's think of some examples.
Okay. I think I've actually got one, right?
All right.
Now, I'm a teacher, which surprises a lot of people usually. But, it's easy to kind of think like super negative thoughts, right? It's easy to think, man, here he is again, right? It's easy to think to let this guy come in and think about, I miss my friends, school isn't the way, math is really, really hard, I need some help. Oh, all of this is way too difficult, right? Mm-hmm. But we can actually get rid of those negative thoughts and we can focus on what's true. Oh, awesome, right? We can focus on positive thoughts like, hey, my teachers love and care about me and they're there to help me, right? My family is there to support me. Eastown Kids loves and cares about you and is ready to help you if you need it, right? And so it matters really a lot what we focus on, what we think about. Thanks, superhero, true, noble lady.
She's cute.
Anyway, why don't you give me another example?
Okay, so screen time. This is a big one in my house. So we limit screen time, right? I'm sure all of you guys get a little bit of screen time here and there, and then all of a sudden the alarm goes off or your parents come in and they're like, you're done. And then you completely freak out and you're like, I don't want to. This is terrible. It's not fair. I hate my life. I mean, that's maybe just my house, but your parents are doing it to help you. So.
Yeah, totally, right? Instead of focusing on those negative thoughts, you can focus on some pretty positive thoughts. Oh, okay, awesome. Thanks, superhero, noble, truth, lovely lady. Awesome. You're just right over there on my shoulder.
We're like,
Guys, there's one more example I want to give, and it's kind of has to do a lot with the time that we're living in, right? We're living in a pandemic. Life is really hard. Maybe you're missing playing sports with your friends. You're missing going to school. Maybe you had a super awesome birthday party planned, and right, it's easy to let all of these negative thoughts get in, right? It's easy to let all of these kind of poor thoughts rain down on you all the time. And to say, oh, and just kind of be bummed or depressed, right? Oh, I miss everything. I wish it was the way it was. But instead, you can get rid of those negative thoughts, get out of here, and you can focus on what's true. You can focus on what Paul wrote for us, right? Hey, welcome back. Oh, okay. And you can think about all the good things that have happened during this time. And you might be like, no good things have happened. I bet you can think of a couple good things that have happened during this time, whether it's more time with your family. I know for me, I've gotten to spend more time with my kids in the pandemic. Love you, Rue and Theo. And it has been awesome. And so guys, focus on what's true. And I know you're thinking, you've said focus on what's true a lot. That's actually our bottom line this week is focus on what's true. Right? Miss Heather read that verse. We made you a list of all of the things that you can focus on and that you can think about, right? Because life does get hard, guys. It does get challenging, but it does matter what we focus on. Because what happens when we focus on these things? What happens at kind of an outpouring in our life?
Joy comes. Think about it. God's working in our lives every single day. So let's just see the world in a more truthful way.
I like that, right? And when joy comes out, right, it comes out with a smile on our face, it comes out with how we treat each other. I mean, even sometimes when I'm so joyful, like I can't even control my body movements and I end up just dancing. And so guys, get up out of your seats. It's time for an extra special dance party. Dance party! Hey guys, I gotta tell you, when we live this way, when we focus on what's right and true, right, we can really be world changers, because you guys are. So go change the world.
Go change the world.